He killed his parents because he could no longer endure their abuse and had to stop it. He fired every round in his gun at them.
After spending their entire adult life behind bars now, a shocking twist might bring Lyle and Eric Menendez closer to freedom.
He just said, "You listen to me. What I do with my son is none of your business, and we're going to forget this conversation ever took place."
The DA just dropped a bombshell of a recommendation for resentencing. Could this mean release is on the horizon for the Menendez brothers? The push for resentencing. So let's reveal the dark side of the story of Lyle and Eric Menendez, two brothers who have been behind bars for nearly 35 years now. It's been a long journey filled with a lot of pain and controversy. I mean, can you imagine spending almost your entire adult life in prison? It really makes you think, haven't they paid their debt to society by now? Tonight, we've got some significant news. The Los Angeles County District Attorney, George Gascon, just announced that he's recommending a resentencing for the Menendez brothers. He's suggesting that they serve 50 years to life, but with the possibility of parole. That means they could actually be eligible for release fairly soon, which is a pretty big deal after all this time. Now let's rewind a bit and talk about what led to all of this. The Menendez brothers committed a crime that shocked the nation back in 1989 when they murdered their parents, Jose and Kitty Menendez, in their Beverly Hills home. They were convicted and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. But as the years have passed, more information has come to light about their troubled upbringing, and many people are starting to see things in a different light. It's crucial to acknowledge the environment these brothers grew up in. They were surrounded by tremendous dysfunction. Allegations have emerged that their father sexually abused them, which adds a whole other layer to this tragedy. This isn't just a simple case of murder. It's about the impact of childhood trauma and abuse. And I think it's vital to have this conversation, especially when we consider how victims of sexual assault, whether they're women or men, are often not believed due to societal biases. Family members gathered recently to show their support for the brothers as news of the DA's recommendation broke. This step gives many people hope that the truth, which has been hidden for far too long, might finally be heard. Eric and Lyle have been living with the horrors of their past for so long, and this could be a chance for them to start healing. The DA's decision reflects a willingness to acknowledge the brothers' trauma and the truth behind their actions. Gascon stated, "I am recommending that they be released because I believe that the people they were at age 19 and 21 are not the same people we are seeing 35 years later."
I believe, right, that given the totality of the circumstances, I don't think that they deserve to be in prison until they die, okay? I don't believe that.
It's a powerful statement, isn't it? People can change over time, especially after experiencing the kinds of things these brothers have endured.
Yes.
Okay, it was you telling Lyle what?
My dad had been molesting me.
Interestingly, just days ago, nearly 20 family members gathered to plead for their release. It was a heartfelt moment. They spoke about the pain they've all gone through as a family, and how they believe Lyle and Eric have already suffered enough. Imagine the emotional weight of being there, fighting for your loved ones, and hoping for justice. It's heartbreaking and hopeful all at once. No jury today would issue such a harsh sentence without taking into account the trauma that the brothers have faced. The legal landscape has changed a lot over the years, and the conversation around mental health and childhood trauma is more prevalent now than it ever was. It's about time we start to recognize that the context of a crime matters, especially when it comes to understanding the psychological impact on individuals who have suffered. This isn't just about Lyle and Eric Menendez. It's about the broader implications of how we view crime, punishment, and redemption in our society. What do we do with individuals who have clearly been affected by their upbringing? How do we balance justice with compassion? These are tough questions, and they don't have easy answers. In the case of the Menendez brothers, we're talking about two young men who made a tragic choice, but that choice was heavily influenced by their traumatic past. It's a complex web of emotions and experiences. Yes, they took the lives of their parents, but the circumstances leading up to that event are crucial to understanding the full story. Many people are rallying behind the brothers, advocating for their release. There's a growing movement that believes it's time to acknowledge the trauma they endured and to consider the possibility of rehabilitation. Society tends to have a black and white view of crime, but the reality is often much more nuanced. It's also essential to reflect on how the legal system has changed. Over the years, we've seen shifts in how courts handle cases involving trauma and mental health. There's a growing awareness that individuals who have been victims of abuse might not react to situations in the same way as those who haven't experienced such trauma. This shift is important, and it's encouraging to see that conversations are happening at this level. As the Menendez brothers' family gathers for these developments, their support is a reminder that there are people who love and care for them despite their past. It's about family, loyalty, and the hope for a better future. I can only imagine how emotional it must be for their family members, standing up for them, sharing their stories, and advocating for their release. The 93-year-old sister of Kitty Menendez, sitting in the front row during the announcement, must feel an immense weight on her shoulders. She's seen the family torn apart by tragedy, and now she's hoping for healing and closure. Her presence signifies the lingering pain of losing loved ones and the desire to see the brothers given a second chance. The DA's recommendation is a significant step in the right direction. It shows that there's a willingness to look at the complexities of this case, to understand that the young men who committed those acts are not the same individuals today. It raises questions about our justice system and how we define punishment versus rehabilitation. So what's next for Lyle and Eric Menendez? Well, if the recommendation is accepted, they could potentially be released soon, and that's a big deal. It opens up the possibility for them to reintegrate into society, seek therapy, and start anew. Can you imagine the fear and excitement they must feel at the thought of life beyond prison walls? It's both daunting and hopeful. The Menendez case has captivated public interest for decades, and it's fascinating to see how perceptions have shifted over time. Many people initially saw the brothers as cold-blooded killers, but now, as more information has come to light, a lot of folks are starting to see them as victims of their circumstances. This change in perspective highlights the importance of understanding the full context of a story. As we look to the future, let's keep an open mind about the complexities of crime and punishment. The Menendez brothers' journey is a reminder that every story has many layers, and sometimes it's essential to peel back those layers to understand what truly happened. The push for resentencing Lyle and Eric Menendez reflects not just a legal decision, but a broader societal conversation about trauma, healing, and redemption. As we move forward, let's remember the importance of compassion and understanding in our discussions about justice. It's time to listen to the voices of those affected, to acknowledge their pain, and to consider the possibility of a second chance. This isn't just about the Menendez brothers anymore. It's about all of us, and how we choose to approach the complexities of life, love, and the paths we take. Was it a murder or self-defense? Lyle and Eric Menendez claimed their family was wealthy and stable, but behind closed doors, their parents were anything but supportive. They described living in constant fear of their father, feeling threatened and trapped in their own home. On August 20th, 1989, in the exclusive neighborhood of Beverly Hills, that fear erupted in a brutal tragedy. Jose and Mary Louise "Kitty" Menendez were found murdered in their mansion, shocking the nation. Nearly 7 years and 3 sensational trials later, Lyle and Eric were convicted of their parents' murders and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. This case was everywhere back in the late 80s and early 90s. It had all the ingredients that make a case go viral: family drama, Hollywood ties, shocking testimonies, and wall-to-wall TV coverage. There was no doubt that Lyle and Eric had pulled the trigger, but the big question was, why? To the outside world, they were the perfect family, wealthy, successful, and living in the exclusive Beverly Hills neighborhood. But things were not always the same as Jose, originally from Cuba, came to the U.S. as a teenager escaping the turmoil of the Cuban Revolution in the 50s. He had a tough start, living in an attic at a cousin's house, but he managed to earn a swimming scholarship to college. Lyle and Eric Menendez looked like sons molded to perfection. Lyle was a promising tennis player with a future in business, following his father's path, while Eric excelled in tennis with Jose's unyielding push, ranking nationally in his age group. But Jose's drive wasn't seen as merely supportive. To many, he was a harsh and exacting force in his sons' lives, obsessed with success and unwilling to accept anything less than perfection. One former swim coach described Jose's overbearing nature as so intense it shattered Eric's confidence. To Jose, nothing his sons did was ever good enough. When the family moved to California, cracks started to show. Eric fell into rebellion, involved in a string of burglaries in 1988, narrowly avoiding jail with court-ordered therapy. Meanwhile, Lyle, attending Princeton, faced a suspension for plagiarism, a public blemish on the Menendez family's pristine image. Behind the walls of their Beverly Hills mansion, Lyle and Eric alleged a life of terror and control. At trial, they described Jose as a physically and emotionally abusive father and claimed their mother, Kitty, was complicit by remaining silent. This revelation turned the case into a national spectacle. Jose, who once seemed like a model of the American dream, was now painted as a tyrant. The defense argued that years of trauma drove Lyle and Eric to kill, presenting a family life that was glamorous only on the surface, but filled with dark secrets underneath. Some sympathized with the brothers, believing they were desperate, fearful sons. Others saw them as manipulative, cold, and motivated by greed rather than trauma. The defense's abuse narrative fractured public opinion and fueled a media frenzy. After 2 mistrials, the final conviction in 1996 sentenced both brothers to life without parole. Yet, decades later, the case has taken another twist, as new evidence might bring the brothers back to court for resentencing. The Menendez saga remains one of America's most haunting family crime cases, raising lingering questions about privilege, abuse, and justice. As the story reopens, everyone wonders, will Lyle and Eric Menendez see a different fate? The case's legacy and public perception. The recent developments in the Menendez brothers' case have sparked intense discussions, even among those within the district attorney's office. Some members hold the belief that the brothers were never subjected to abuse, while others maintain that they should face severe penalties for their actions. This division reflects the complexities of public opinion, which has been further influenced by a recent Netflix series that revived interest in their tragic story. The narrative around this infamous case has shifted significantly over the years. Initially, it captured national attention when the shocking details emerged. 2 young men had allegedly executed their parents in a brutal act of violence. The victims, entertainment executive Jose Menendez and his wife Kitty, were found lifeless in their lavish Beverly Hills home, gunned down by their own children in a chilling display of familial betrayal. The image of the brothers, Lyle and Eric, with their intense expressions, quickly became synonymous with the horror of the crime. The brothers' actions were widely perceived as incomprehensible. The double homicide shocked not only local communities, but resonated throughout the country. The brutality of the crime, characterized by multiple shotgun blasts, left a lasting impact. Critics labeled the brothers as stone-cold murderers, arguing that nothing could justify such an act of violence. While the details of how Jose and Kitty were killed were well documented, the underlying motivations for the brothers' actions have remained a topic of heated debate. For decades, discussions about the Menendez brothers have centered not just on the murder itself, but on the question of why. This was not merely a classic murder mystery. It involved deeply rooted allegations of long-term abuse, physical, emotional, and sexual, that the brothers claimed had been inflicted upon them by their father. This perspective has polarized public opinion, leading to conflicting views about the brothers' culpability and their motivations. "I'm just an ordinary kid," Eric once claimed, a statement that many found hard to reconcile with his actions. The grim reality of their situation, sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, has evoked sympathy from some quarters, particularly as awareness surrounding issues of abuse has evolved in recent years. In light of this, a growing segment of the public advocates for a reconsideration of their sentences. Despite the horrific nature of their actions, the notion of the brothers as victims has gained traction. Justice reform advocates, including high-profile figures like Kim Kardashian, have taken an interest in their case. Kardashian, who visited the brothers in prison, emphasized the importance of examining the complexities of their situation, suggesting that it is essential to challenge past judicial decisions and seek the truth, even in cases where guilt appears undeniable. This evolving perspective has prompted discussions about the societal understanding of male victims of sexual abuse. The narrative surrounding the Menendez brothers has been analyzed through a contemporary lens, revealing a more nuanced understanding of trauma that was not adequately recognized during their trials in the 1990s. Many experts now argue that society was unprepared to confront the reality of male sexual abuse, especially when the perpetrator was a father. A psychiatrist, Jerome Oziel, who treated the brothers in the past, reflected on the cultural climate of the 1990s, stating that there was a widespread lack of awareness regarding such cases. He noted, "If these had been sisters instead of brothers, they might have received a different reception and potentially a lighter sentence." This raises questions about gender bias in judicial outcomes and how societal perceptions can affect justice. Public opinion has further evolved, with some voices asserting that the justice system failed to account for the brothers' traumatic experiences. Others, however, maintain that their actions cannot be excused by their past. Critics argue that the lavish lifestyle the brothers enjoyed after the murders, marked by extravagant spending, suggests ulterior motives beyond simple retribution for abuse. A journalist who covered the trials posited that many jurors likely found the brothers' behavior inexplicable and ultimately reprehensible. The family's dynamic remains a focal point of the discussion. Kitty's brother, Milton Anderson, recently stated that the brothers' actions not only ended their parents' lives, but also destroyed their family unit. He underscored that the brothers' motivations were rooted in greed rather than a genuine fear for their safety. This viewpoint resonates with those who believe that the judicial system rightly condemned the brothers for their actions, regardless of their claimed experiences of abuse. As public sentiment surrounding the Menendez brothers continues to evolve, their fate now hangs in the balance. The district attorney, George Gaskin, has expressed doubts about their original sentences, stating that he believes they may not deserve to spend the rest of their lives behind bars. He indicated that a decision regarding a potential hearing for the brothers could be forthcoming in the next several weeks. The brothers' legal representative has remained optimistic about their chances for release, suggesting that they have a supportive family eager for a positive outcome. There is a palpable sense of hope among their relatives, who have waited patiently for this moment. "We stand united in our hope and gratitude," their attorney declared, signaling a collective desire to see the brothers receive justice and potentially reunite with their family. It remains to be seen how this complex case will be resolved in the eyes of the law and society. The narrative surrounding the Menendez brothers is no longer a simple tale of murder. It has transformed into a broader examination of trauma, societal norms, and the evolving understanding of abuse. With public perceptions shifting and key figures advocating for their release, the Menendez brothers' legacy as either victims or perpetrators will undoubtedly continue to spark intense debate. The impact of this case stretches far beyond the initial tragedy, affecting discussions about justice, mental health, and the complexities of familial relationships. It has become emblematic of broader societal changes regarding how we view victims of abuse, particularly men, and the legal system's responsibility to adapt to these evolving understandings. As the Menendez brothers' saga marches forward, it serves as a stark reminder of the intricate tapestry of human experience, where actions and motivations are often entangled in shades of gray. With the anticipation of a potential court hearing on the horizon, the Menendez brothers and their family brace themselves for what may come next. Their story has captured the public's imagination for decades, and as new revelations emerge, it will undoubtedly continue to provoke discussion and introspection about justice, family, and the scars that trauma leaves behind. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more updates. What do you think about this case and the role of Eric's brother? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next one.